Road Atlanta, 2.5 miles of racetrack set in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountain, today plays host to the beginning of the championship stretch drive in 2 of the Sports Car Club of America's most popular racing classes. Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha, welcoming you to a very special racing doubleheader here on ESPN. We have the Truck Guard SHELLZONE Challenge for SCCA race trucks and the Bosch Volkswagen Super V Open Wheel Series. It should be a great afternoon of racing. With me to call the action is veteran road racer Jack Baldwin. And Jack, we'll have the race trucks first, and these trucks really put on a show.
Oh, this is a very exciting series, Bob. It's a series where good teamwork and drafting is essential to winning. Any team that gets hooked up and gets out in front is going to be really tough to beat. If they're challenged, though, you might want to keep an eye on the teammate in second place. It's his job not only to protect the lead, but to stay in that draft, and sometimes that leads to some contact.
And adding spice to the mix, normally we invert the top 6 starters, put the 6 slowest first. Today we're going to invert the top 12, and Phil Van Horn, who'll be patrolling the pit lane today, is standing by with our happy pole sitter.
Craig Widener is on the pole, but he was not the fastest qualifier. Let's see if he's a fan of that inverted qualifying order today. You flip-flop after being the 12th fastest. You must like it today.
Well, it's really an opportunity for the drivers that have not been up near the front to come up and really get some feel for what the start is up from not in the back of the pack, but up front. So we're excited about it. We want to drive a safe race and just make sure that everything comes off as it's supposed to.
Here's a look at the points coming into Road Atlanta after 5 of 9 races in the 1990 series. Now that we've heard from the man who benefits most from the inverted start, let's check with the man who benefits least.
Mike Hughes, are you a fan of the inverted qualifying order? You get the $1,000. Is that a big enough carrot to start 12th in the field after being the fastest qualifier?
What we wanted to do is start up front. We didn't want to start 12th, but I've got a couple buddy Nissans here we plan to draft, and I think we'll be up front in about 15 laps before the end.
Well, no matter what happens, Mike Hughes has a $1,000 cash prize and 2 championship points to console him. The fastest qualifier in the field will start 12th today. Now let's take a look at this 2.5-mile 12-turn Road Atlanta battleground with the help of the onboard camera in Peter Cunningham's truck and the driver himself. Here's Peter.
Sweet. Exit the pit lane. Go out to turn 1. 4th gear. Use all the road. Go up the hill. Go through turn 2 into turn 3. A deceptively fast right-hander. Carry some speed. Now going down through the S's. Try to keep smooth all the way through here. Back up to 5th for a short bit. Down to 4th. Heavy braking for an uphill left-hander, turn 5. Try to get a good exit out of there to make it up the hill. And down towards turn 6, heavily banked right-hander, pretty fast. Try to be on the power all the way through here. Into turn 7, the slowest corner at Road Atlanta. Get on the gas early, 3rd gear. 4th gear. Down Road Atlanta's long straightaway. Up into 5th gear. Approaching the rise before the dip. On down through the fastest portion of the course. Up the hill into turn 11. Heavy braking, late apex, on the gas, all the way down the hill. Use all the road. Flat out through turn 12, the last corner, onto the pit straightaway.
Well, Peter Cunningham certainly sounds composed as he makes his lap of Road Atlanta, but all that will change when we face the green flag in just a moment. Stay with us.
Yonder comes some outdoorsmen.
Oh, look at this.
You know they'd have a banjo. How far to the river?
You won't make it on them tires.
Don't worry.
We won't!
Sooner or later,
Your lone general.
car to bring the road alive. Have you driven a Ford? Then you don't know what you're missing. Have you driven a Ford? Driven a Ford? Have you driven a Ford lately? Wild thing. It is a wild thing. Come shout and sing, join in the ring. It could be queen or it could be king. You go your way and I'll go mine, as long as you just make it fine.
The good times roll with the clean, fresh taste of Bud Light. It won't fill you up, never let you down.
Wild thing. Wild thing.
Welcome back to Road Atlanta and our ESPN Speed World Sports Car Club of America Pro Racing doubleheader. Bob Barsha and Jack Baldwin with you. 17 SCCA Sport trucks are on the track warming tires and engines, and here's the way they'll line up for the start. On the pole, due to the inverted start, the 12th fastest qualifier, Craig Widener from Cadillac, Michigan in a Ford Ranger, next to the Jeep of the all-time win leader in class, Tommy Archer. On row 2, Tommy's brother, Bobby Archer, setting up a Jeep Draft next to Don Markham of Kentucky in a Nissan. Row 3 will be the leading independent in the series, Chuck Hemmingson in a Nissan next to the Ford Ranger of the 87 Series champion, Max Jones. Row 4 will be all former IndyCar drivers, Chet Phillip in a Mazda, and Steve Saleen, the Sears Point winner in a Ford. Row 5 will be Peter Cunningham, the Laguna Seca winner in a Mazda, next to the Nissan of the defending series champion, Ray Kong. On row 6, Scott Gaylord, winner of the most recent race at Des Moines, next to local favorite Mike Hughes from Ackworth, Georgia. Row 7, Myron Kroll in a Nissan next to the Ford of Gary Clark. Row 8, Rob Stevens and Sterling Robertson in a Ford and a Jeep. And on row 9, Harvey Clark, the 17th and final starter. The pace car is off. Turn 1 is always exciting at Road Atlanta, but Jack Baldwin, especially when you got the fastest guys in the field buried in the middle of the pack.
Boy, that's true, and what they need to do right now is they need to be careful, get through this turn 1, hook up, and get into a nice tight draft and move to the front.
They go 3 wide, but they tuck in, looks pretty clean. There you see number 9, that's Gary Clark. Somebody got a wheel off one of the Nissans at the top of the hill. That was one of the Archer brothers in those red Jeep Comanches. Back on without incident.
Well, that's nice being a truck. You just run off the road, go through the dirt, come back on, no problem.
Oh, these are great racing vehicles. There is a look at Don Markham, who started in the number 4 spot.
See, they're all, at this point, they're all nicely strung out. They're just getting tuned in. They're starting to set a rhythm. They want to get positioned so that when they get to turn 7 and enter that first straightaway, they get a nice, good toe and can move right along.
The top qualifying speed averaged out to just over 82 miles an hour, and these cars all very closely matched. I call them cars. I'll be doing that all day long. Actually, of course, they are light-duty trucks, all 4-cylinder engines, making something in excess of 200 horsepower, running at about 27, 28, 2,900 pounds, depending on displacement. And now we've got a battle for the lead on the back straightaway.
See, now every time these trucks go side by side, it slows them down a little bit, and it helps the guys from behind to get up and get to them and get by them.
Don Markham in number 6 took a look at the lead, but he has been drafted past, and this is what we're going to see all day long. Look at them start to pair up. Up the hill they come to the tunnel turn, number 11. And now we may have a 3-truck train as they come down to finish the lap. Number 45, Chuck Hemmingson, the leading independent, in fact, the only non-factory truck to win in this series in its 4-year history. He picked up a victory in his hometown at Des Moines last year. But coming by on the inside, the red, white, and blue number 1 of Ray Kong, who started 10th. He has up to lead as you see Chet Phillip coming through. The man on the move is Ray Kong, one of the dominating drivers in this series and the defending champion.
That was a fantastic job for him to get in 1 lap from 10th to 1st. He must have got a great draft down the straightaway and some good brakes in traffic.
But as you can see, he hasn't got a teammate around him, so he must be getting that draft from somebody else out there. Don Markham is just behind him in that Dayglow truck, and just behind him in 3rd and 4th, the identically painted Mazdas of Chet Phillip and Peter Cunningham.
Now, you might have noticed Don Markham wave a little bit to the truck behind him as they came onto that straightaway. He signaled they're going to go to the inside. They're going to hook up real nice and tight and make this draft stick. They're going to sort of hang Ray Kong out. But Ray Kong's going to roll right in behind him and just watch the action in front of him.
And now the Mazda teammates split behind Markham. And then the number 42 truck, of Peter Cunningham, tucks in behind and gives Don Markham a little shove there.
Yeah, these guys are going to gang up on Markham now. They're going to try to get him. His teammates are going to get all over him and see if they can't get by in a hurry.
He has two sets of teammates behind him, the yellow Mazdas and then the red, white, and blue Nissans. Now it looked like Scott Gaylord slid to his left. He was hooked up with teammate Ray Kong. The 42 of Peter Cunningham from Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin, leads the field up the hill once again. There you see Cunningham, who won earlier this year at Laguna Seca in round 4 of the 5 races thus far. We've had 5 different winners in the 5 races thus far. Steve Saleen, Bobby Archer, Tommy Archer, Peter Cunningham, and Scott Gaylord.
What you're seeing here is an example of just how important teamwork is in this series. The two Mazdas up front are working together.
And Markham locks them up in turn 5. He's going to lose some spots.
Poor Markham, you know, he was sort of the meat in the sandwich coming down through the S's. You know, he's got teams on both sides of him, and they're trying to abuse him a little bit.
And they did it. Peter Cunningham is right up front, and we'll be back to Road Atlanta after this.
As a business manager, I worry about the cost of drug abuse in the workplace, which one estimate places at $60 billion per year. Drug users have 3 times as many accidents, are absent 2.5 times as often, and have 3 times the medical expenses as non-users. If you're an employer, take measures to provide a drug-free workplace. The worst thing you can do about drug abuse is nothing.
Contact the Metro Atlanta Crime Commission for information on a drug-free workplace.
Only one bank is open 7 days a week till 8 p.m. Bank South. Open for your personal loans. Open for your checking and savings needs. Open when it's convenient for you. 7 days a week till 8 p.m. in Kroger stores. Bank South.
That's what I like about the South.
Friday night, the surging Giants face the Reds and the Athletics meet the Yankees. Or in some areas, the Dodgers battle the Braves and the Orioles take on the Angels. Friday night at 7:30 Eastern, live on ESPN.
Back at Road Atlanta and the Sports Car Club of America Truck Guard SHELLZONE Challenge for race pickup trucks. There is Mike Hughes, who started 12th in this field after qualifying first. The start was inverted, dumping him back to the 12th spot. He has come back and now runs in 6th, behind sets of teammates. There is the 42 of Peter Cunningham, who leads, followed by his teammate Chet Phillip. Whoa, we got one of the Nissans off there, kicking up a cloud of dust. But the train starts to build. There you see Ray Kong and Scott Gaylord running in 3rd and 4th. A look at Chet Phillip in 2nd place, another IndyCar veteran, along with Steve Saleen in the field here today. And now the Nissan teammates look to make a move on 2nd place.
See, the Mazdas got spread out a little bit, so they don't have each other to draft off of, so they're in a vulnerable position. Here come the Nissans.
These trucks, earlier in the 3-year history of this series, used to be able to reinforce their bumpers. They're no longer allowed to do that. Whoa, and one of the Nissans is off. That is Ray Kong, who went all 4 wheels on the dirt on one side. Now Scott Gaylord does it on the other side. Wild action here at Road Atlanta, under the tunnel turn, through turn 12, and onto the pit straightaway on the start-finish line.
That was a beautiful job by the leader to keep, to stay in the lead. He got tapped, and he's holding them off. He's doing a good job.
It is Cunningham, already a winner once this year. There you see his teammate, 43, Chet Phillip from Juneau, Florida. And then a great battle. Mike Hughes has put both of the Ford factory entries behind him, Max Jones and Steve Saleen.
Now Chet Phillip, he'll use the Nissans to get back to his teammate when they set up for the exit of turn 7.
Drafting was probably perfected by the Archer brothers in this series. They're running further back in their Jeep Comanches, but boy, if you don't have a teammate to draft with these days in a race truck series, you're just lost.
Now, it appears that Chet Phillip has a little bit of a power problem, because you see the 3 trucks in front of him, they're tight and they stay together, but at the end of the straightaway, they seem to move away from Chet just a little bit.
He has also lost that draft. Chet Phillip has just hung out to dry. You see him to the left of your screen there. The draft seems to work for about 2 truck lengths, and then you're out of it.
Now, right now, Peter Cunningham's looking in his mirror, and he knows he's in a little bit of trouble because he's got two Nissans behind him. They're hooked up tight, and they want to get by him.
And here they come. Freight training by on the fastest part of this Road Atlanta racetrack. Speed's probably in excess, maybe touching 100 miles an hour here, Jack.
Oh, yes, easily. And see, there's nothing that Peter Cunningham can do but let these guys go by and then tuck in behind him. But they're bump drafting down that hill now, and they'll pull away.
Scott Gaylord won his first race truck event in Des Moines a few weeks ago in the rain, so he is used to working with treacherous footing. Right now, it's a dry day, beautiful weather for racing here at Road Atlanta, and the Nissan teammates Gaylord and the defending series champion Ray Kong are hooked up. Now the Mazdas appear to be making a little bit of a dent in that lead, but Peter Cunningham and Chet Phillip are going to have to get nose to tail if they're going to be able to close in.
You know, it looks like the Nissans have real good power.
Well, here's a problem for somebody losing parts off that machine. That is the number 73 of Rob Stevens from Union Lake, Wisconsin.
That's a little air duct, probably to send some air to his rear brakes.
Not going to do him much good in that situation. He's also got the left front tire down, as you see there. Tough break for Rob Stevens. Meanwhile, back on point. Now Ray Kong assumes the lead from his teammate Gaylord, and it's a Nissan 1-2 in trucks numbered 1-2. Gaylord getting a little bit sideways and almost lost the handle there. And right there to take advantage, you see the number 42 Mazda. This is Peter Cunningham.
See, it doesn't take much. That the Nissan in second place bobbled just a little bit coming off of 5, and that enabled Peter Cunningham to get up on the inside and make the pass.
Oh, and now they rub shoulders. Cunningham trying to move into second place. Gaylord almost gets off the racetrack, and that's what you talked about at the top of the show, Jack. When the number 2 guy, that second teammate in line, gets caught, he has to do everything he can to protect his teammate.
But see, right here, the advantage went to the leader. Now he's all out there by himself, and these guys are spread out, and they don't have each other to draft on, so the leader has an advantage right now.
Slight right front damage to Scott Gaylord's machine as he tries to close up on Cunningham once again.
Well, now, the Nissan teammate needs to hook up with that Mazda. They need to work together because they need to get back to the leader. He needs to get back to his teammate.
Make it Kong, Cunningham, and Gaylord in your top 3 positions. And keep in mind, these trucks are essentially stock machines. They must run the race on the tires they qualified on. The engines they run are as delivered from the showroom floor. You can blueprint them, bring them right up to manufacturer's specs and balance them. Gaylord now takes a look past Cunningham on the inside. That was a pretty easy pass, Jack.
Yeah, that was a real nice pass, the way he set up and pulled that off. It appears that the Nissans do have a power advantage. The Mazdas seem to handle very well in the slower turns, but when they get out on the straightaway, that Nissan seems to be able to pull away just slightly from the Mazda.
It is a Nissan 1-2 as the action continues here at Road Atlanta, and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
The world's fastest and most exotic Mercedes-Benz comes on Goodyear Eagle radials, and only on Goodyear Eagle radials. Why? Because the engineers at Mercedes-Benz want it that way. And they're another reason why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
Nissan builds cars for people who have a certain enthusiasm for the cars they drive. Of course, some drivers are a little more enthusiastic than others. Nissan, built for the most demanding race of all, the human race.
An actor. I'm a career police officer, and I want everyone to know about the Club, the most foolproof car theft prevention device I've ever seen. FBI statistics show that last year, 1 of every 43 cars was stolen or vandalized. The Club could virtually eliminate auto theft. The tempered steel Club locks onto your car's steering wheel in seconds, making it practically impossible to steal. It's highly visible, too. Car thieves see the Club and keep on going. That's why over 600 police departments like mine endorse and recommend the Club. If everyone used the club, we police could forget about auto theft and spend our time dealing with more serious crimes like murder, rape, and drugs. You can buy the club at all good stores that handle auto accessories for less than $60, except no imitations. I recommend the club.
Back at Road Atlanta and the Sports Car Club of America Truck Guard Shell Zone Race Truck Challenge. And we have a challenge for the lead. Peter Cunningham in the yellow Mazda to the right of your screen will take a shot at Scott Gaylord for the point.
The power of the draft. You saw that in action right there.
A bit of a slingshot NASCAR style, but going uphill and turning right. On to the start-finish straightaway. Cunningham, the points leader, an 8-point margin over the second place Scott Gaylord. Ray Kong runs in third position. He's also third in points. And now the Nissan teammates hook up. Gaylord gets through, but Kong is going to have a problem with Cunningham here.
It might change when they get up to the top of that hill and try to get into turn 3. Now the Mazda's on the outside.
And Cunningham will let Kong take the position.
It's tough when you're racing teammates because when they make the pass, you usually lose more than one position because they come by you so tight.
Now here you see Bobby Archer out of Duluth, Minnesota. He and brother Tommy have competed in a number of SCCA series. They run on the ice up in Minnesota in the wintertime. They run on the tracks in the summertime. They are a true racing family, but they are not entirely happy with the way things have been going this season, despite the fact that both Bobby and Tommy have won this year. Bobby at Dallas, Tommy at Detroit. Phil Van Horn has more from the pits on Tommy's situation.
Tommy was running out of the top 10 and simply out of frustration parked it. He couldn't get up and run with the front runners, so he decided he wouldn't run at all. So he parked the Jeep, got out, and headed up to the truck.
And so the 88 Series champion Tommy Archer is out. His brother will run alone. And up front, Peter Cunningham in the Mazda. Looks like he's going to make a move on the Nissan teammates.
Now you see the Nissans are very, very close together. They're trying to protect that lead. They're even moving to the inside, but at the top of the hill they got split. The Mazda got in between them. It's good action now.
Boy, that's what you call parallel parking, as Peter Cunningham just shot the gap between the two Nissans, and now Ray Kong tucks in just behind again. Look at the damage on these trucks. A quick juke to the left and then to the right. Cunningham takes the lead in turn 1.
See, they did their best to block that move, but they still couldn't do it. You can even see the hand signal. In the Ray Kong's car. He hand signaled, but it still didn't work. Cunningham got by. He did a beautiful job.
And when you watch that kind of driving, you should keep in mind these cars are using stock suspensions as well. You can't change the suspension mounting points. You can use stock readily available shock absorbers and change those, and you can change the springs with those of a similar type. But these are basically stock machines with roll cages and fire extinguishers bolted in for safety. And now as they come over the hill on the short chute to turn 6, I think you're right, Jack. These Nissans do have a little power advantage as Scott Gaylord pulls alongside Cunningham for the lead.
But see, Cunningham, he stays to the right going down that straightaway. He says to the Nissan, you want to pass me? Pass me on the outside. The Nissan says, I don't think so, not right here.
And look at the damage to these trucks.
See, it was smarter for the number 2 truck to wait until to turn 7 to stay together with his teammate. Now they're going to hook up down the straightaway, and they're going to take another shot at Cunningham. Here they come.
The Nissans to the left, the lone Mazda to the right on the fast part of the racetrack. Gaylord leads his teammate, the defending series champion Ray Kong, and they make the pass.
And there's the bump draft. You see them hit, you could just barely see them. They hit each other.
In the first 3 years of this 4-year-old series, they could reinforce these front bumpers and the rear bumpers. They're not allowed to do that anymore, and as a result, they do take some punishment.
Bump drafting does help them just a little bit because every time they bump each other, it moves them ahead.
Now here's a look back at 5th, 6th, and 7th position.
Boy, Mike Hughes has done a great job, hasn't he?
Hughes in the red, white, and blue number 5, leading the 2 Fords there, Max Jones and Steve Saleen.
The problem Mike's got right now is Mike's running in a group, but he's the leader of that group, and that group is a long way from the group in front of him, so he has no one to help him move ahead.
And that could be a problem because we are on the last lap. Scott Gaylord of the number 2 Nissan leads his teammate Ray Kong, who's doing everything in his power and then some to keep that yellow and white Mazda of Peter Cunningham behind him.
They're doing as teammates will. They're working very, very closely together. This is the last lap. They need to get back around to turn 7 onto that straightaway first and hopefully have a little bit of distance between themselves and that Mazda.
There are points at stake here as well. Your leader, Scott Gaylord, is second in points by 8 to the third place man, Peter Cunningham, and there are also manufacturers' points at stake here. Nissan leads Mazda by 1 point coming in. There are 9 points up front for Nissan. The second place truck of Ray Kong can be a spoiler, taking 6 points away from Mazda. They can pick up 4 with a third place finish. So right now it's not only important that Gaylord win, but that Kong finishes second.
Well, here it is, the last lap, and this is just exactly what the two Nissans needed. They've got a little distance coming onto that front straightaway, leaving little hope for Cunningham to get by and make the pass. But I will say that Peter Cunningham has done a fantastic job today to stay up and run for the lead all day long.
Now here come the 4, 5, 6, and 7 trucks, and Mike Hughes has been demoted from 5th to 7th. There is Max Jones in the number 20 Ford. He won the first championship in this class back in 1987. And his teammate Steve Saleen having trouble there with Mike Hughes, almost put him off the track. And up front, look at this, a battle for the checkered flag between the teammates.
How things change now. It's every man for himself coming to the flag. They do everything short of crashing each other out to get the win.
But it looks like Scott Gaylord will take the win, his second straight in the Truck Guard SHELLZONE SCCA Pro Racing Championship. Here comes, well, this is Phillip and Max Jones bumping fenders behind. You see Mike Hughes, and Hughes loses the engine right at the finish, and he gets sideways. Can he hold it? No, he's onto the grass, and over goes Mike Hughes. Wow, talk about your spectacular arrivals.
What a tough break for Mike. Mike's out of Ackworth, runs a Goodyear tire store out there. He's a fine competitor.
And you saw him hanging upside down as somebody else tries to avoid. Oh, and he's not able to do it. The 73 of Rob Stevens, who we saw dragging parts earlier in the race, runs into the tires. Here's another look at Mike Hughes' problem.
Boy, he dropped a lot of oil out on that track.
And it went right under his wheels. Into the tire barrier and over. He almost had it gathered up, but he rolls twice, winds up on his hood and hanging upside down from the belts.
It's good that they have that tire barrier there. It really helps save the equipment, and certainly it cuts down on injury. Those tires do a very, very good job.
Well, Mike Hughes is out of the truck. Thankfully, he's okay. The truck is back on its wheels. There's Mike. We'll hear from your winner, Scott Gaylord, in just a moment.
Four-Wheel and Off-Road magazine tested the latest imports and domestics to determine this year's 4x4 of the year. The winner was then tested against past 4x4 of the year winners to determine the best of the best. They compared power, performance, and handling. And when it was over, Jeep Cherokee stood on familiar ground.
Now get 0% financing or $1,000 cash back on new Jeep Cherokee.
Boating in a car. Boating in a truck. Shortcut in a car. Shortcut in a truck. Finally, there's an oil that knows the difference. Truck Guard from Shell.
SCCA Pro Racing, taking you on the ultimate road trip.
Back at Road Atlanta, where teamwork has paid off for Scott Gaylord and Ray Kong, who have swept the Truck Guard SHELLZONE Challenge. Of course, everyone's going to be talking about the finish by 7th place Mike Hughes and a spectacular flip. Let's go to Victory Lane and meet Scott Gaylord with Phil Van Horn.
Let's talk about the finish now. You and Ray hooked up.
Yeah, that's what it did. I have to really thank Ray. I mean, Spencer Lowe gave me the best truck, and Ray pushed it across the finish line first for me. It took total teamwork, so really it was Ray. I mean, it's a shared win. I mean, he got second, but really it's first for both of us.
How much is teamwork and how much is who gets their nose out in first close to the end?
Well, PD probably, if it was me and PD, we would have had a super race. Without a teammate for PD, me and Ray really pulled it off. PD didn't have a chance.
And with that victory, Scott Gaylord, the first two-time winner in the series this year, moves from second to first over PD, Peter Cunningham. 1 point separates the top two as we move into the final 3 races of the season. Ray Kong stays in 3rd. Steve Saleen jumps up from 6th in points to tie his teammate for 4th. And so as the celebrations begin in Victory Lane for our top 3 finishers, we prepare for the next event in our SCCA doubleheader. We go from the fully fendered race trucks to the totally non-fendered Super V cars in their 20th and perhaps their final season. There is Stuart Crow, who comes into this race with a 1-point lead over our pole sitter, Chris Smith. Here's Phil Van Horn with the man on the point.
Chris, let's talk about setting the pace in that very first lap. Do you charge into turn 1, or are you cautious and concerned about the field behind you?
Well, a little bit of both. I'm going to do my best to lead up the hill, and if things go according to plan, I'll lead the whole race. But there's a lot of other guys out there running good, and they're also doing their best, so we'll just have to see what happens.
Race number 5, you're exactly halfway through the season. Is it a 2-car chase the rest of the way?
Well, I would hope so. I've won the last 2 races. Stuart Crow won the first 2. We're 1 point apart in the championship. It's going to be close, definitely. Going to be a good race.
Thanks a lot, Chris. That's Chris Smith sitting on the pole for the 2nd time this year. As he mentioned, he has 2 wins this year. The second one came at Des Moines when he took over just 2 laps remaining, and that's when Stuart Crow was on the pace in the lead and lost the lead at Des Moines. Stuart, do you dash early here hoping to grab the lead, or are you cautious on the first couple of laps?
With 25 laps, you dash. You don't ever be cautious. Isn't part of the program. We're going for the gusto. Wind, spin, poke a hole in the fence. Calabunga, dude. Let's go.
With that kind of an attitude on the second row, the first corner here at Road Atlanta should be really interesting. Here's the way they'll line up. On the pole, Chris Smith, winner of the last 2 races in a row. Next to him, Dwayne May from Texas, still looking for that first victory. Row 2, Lee Perkinson from St. Petersburg. Next to the man you just heard from, the Cowabunga Kid, Stuart Crow. Row 3 will be Charles NEARBURG, 39 years of age, next to 40-year-old Skip Weld, the old guys on Row 3. Row 4 will be Chris Schneider from New Jersey, next to Kentucky's Byron Payne. Nearly every driver in the field is in a Ralt machine, except for the man inside Row 5, Mike McHugh in an Anson, next to Robert Falanga, the local favorite from Marietta, Georgia. On Row 6, Mark Diefer in a Griffith, next to the Ralt of Steve Kelton. And on Row 7, Lee Rackley from Clinton, North Carolina, next to Mike McFarland from Elm Grove, Wisconsin. At the midway point in the season, it's a 3-man battle for the championship, and we'll be back for the green flag.
Back up now. Billy Ray, you.
All right, ladies, come on, let's warm up a little bit. Sooner or later, you'll own General. When was the last time you had the kind of car to bring the road alive? Have you driven a Ford? Then you don't know what you're missing. Have you driven a Ford? Driven a Ford? Have you driven a Ford lately? Nothing beats a winning team, pushing hard, reaching for the dream.
See Kenny Bernstein in his Budweiser King drop-fueled dragster in 280-mile-an-hour competition at these NHRA Winston drag racing events.
Nothing beats a Bud. Budweiser. Budweiser. Nothing beats a Bud. Nothing beats a Bud.
Welcome back to Road Atlanta. Time for the Bosch Volkswagen Super V race. You're on board with Chris Schneider from Blairstown, New Jersey. This is the 20th season of the Super V, and there have been some great champions over the years. Stuart Crow hopes to take his place among them. He leads Christopher Smith by 1 point coming in. Lee Perkinson still right there in the battle. Over the years, Jeff Brabham, Al Unser Jr., Michael Andretti, K.K. Rosberg, the former world champion, Trans Am champ Hurley Haywood, Elliott Forbes Robinson, the list goes on and on. This is the 20th season, and we are ready for the 6th round in that season. The pace car will pull off. As you can see, it's a beautiful day. Bob Varsha, Jack Baldwin with you. Jack, we saw some great drafting between the race trucks in the earlier portion of our program. Will we see that among these Super Vs?
Oh, absolutely, Bob. Drafting is very, very important to good passing in the Super V series.
Christopher Smith leads the field down into turn 1. Find yourself another seat, Mr. Bug. We've got racing to do here at Road Atlanta. Up the hill they go. These cars will touch 160 miles an hour on the long backstretch here at Road Atlanta.
You know, going into turn 1 on that green start, they don't even have to crack the throttle because they're running at a little lesser speed. So on that lap, they could just blast through wide open.
And look at the lead Chris Smith has opened up on the field.
It's like everybody else backed off a little bit, and he didn't.
I guess he knew what you were talking about, Jack. Quickly, he has about a, well, make that about a 3-second lead over the second place machine. These are full downforce cars. They have wings front and rear, 1.6-liter Volkswagen engines. You see a little look on the inside there. Someone open for the pass. Number 3 going by is Stuart Crow, who started on the second row and will have to make up time quickly. The man he is battling for the championship, Chris Smith, is moving out of sight.
Boy, Chris has really gotten out to a nice lead. He's broken the draft, and it's up to the group behind him to catch it.
Now, unlike the race trucks that we saw earlier that were very heavily regulated, these cars very much unlimited. Aside from the fact that they use that 1.6-liter engine, you have wings, you have tunnels, you have Goodyear racing slicks. You can set these cars up any way you want to get maximum speed. There is Charles NEARBURG, who started 5th, is now up to 4th. Of course, I was joking when I said he's old at age 39. Great age for a race driver or a television announcer, I hope. Through the first corner they go. There is NEARBURG. And he gets sideways and over the bumps into the grass. Tough break for NEARBURG. Meanwhile, up front, there is Stuart Crow in the number 3 car. And he now moves up into the 4th spot. Let's take another look, Jack.
You can see what happens. He came into turn 1 and he started the rear of the car, started to bounce a little bit, came off the ground. When he came off the ground, he lost all his grip and the car lost control.
Wild spin there. Here's a look from the car following. Oh, Chris Snyder almost went off trying to avoid Charles NEARBURG.
I tell you, it happens quick.
And of course, the old racing rule is if you see a guy spin in front of you, dive for the position he was originally in, and he won't be there when you get there. So our order is now Christopher Smith, followed by Dwayne May. Lee Perkinson is up there, and Stuart Crow running in the 4th spot. There you see May in the dark blue car, pressed hard by Perkinson in number 16.
Now, Smith has a nice lead. He's broken the draft, and he's out there by himself in a clear track situation. The guys, Dwayne May and Lee Perkinson, they need to hook up together and work together to get up to Smith.
Here comes Stuart Crow down the hill. The points leader coming in. He has got to make up some ground. It's 20 points to win, 16 for 2nd, 14 for 3rd, 12 for 5th, then 10 for 6th, and on down to 1 point for 15th position. 9 races in the series this year, so every finish, every point counts.
It looks like Dwayne May is closing the gap just a little bit. He's just in hot pursuit, and it looks like he's being fairly effective here.
Temperatures are climbing. I got to believe that if you didn't make the right tire compound choice, they're going to go off if you're pushing them as hard as Chris Smith is up front.
Well, Chris has no choice but to just go. Every lap, it's a 20-lap race, and he's out there in front, and he's running as hard as he can.
There you saw the interval back to the 4th place car of Stuart Crow. There is Lee Perkinson from St. Petersburg, Florida.
I want to re-emphasize how important the draft is in these Super Vs. It is very, very difficult to gain on a competitor without the use of a draft.
Right now, the man with things going his way is Christopher Smith. We'll return to Road Atlanta to see how he does.
There is a symbol of a major problem in American business today: drug use in the workplace. Employers need to know that nothing is more damaging to American business than drug abuse. Employers also need to know that they can take the lead toward a drug-free workplace. Model programs are available. Call today. It may be the most profitable move you'll make this year.
Contact the Metro Atlanta Crime Commission for information on a drug-free workplace.
As a business manager, I worry about the cost of drug abuse in the workplace, which one estimate places at $60 billion per year. Drug users have 3 times as many accidents, are absent 2.5 times as often, and have 3 times the medical expenses as non-users. If you're an employer, take...
There's new life for the family in Atlanta.
Yep.
And it's at Carousel Apartments, where we love kids.
Yep.
Look, you can leave your children to play in their own fabulous clubhouse, doing all kinds of wonderful planned activities. It's part of Carousel's youth entertainment.
Barsha and Jack Baldwin with you for the Bosch Volkswagen Super V race. And our leader, Chris Smith, suddenly has someone looming in his mirrors. Here comes Dwayne May.
Well, he can feel the pressure. See him going in there to turn 7 pretty hard, locked up a front brake. Probably cost him a little exit speed coming off that corner.
Dwayne May looming up from behind. Jack, these cars very evenly matched, but May really seems to have a combination that gives him a lot more speed on the straightaway.
Boy, he sure did catch him in a hurry, and now he's come right up in the draft of Chris Smith's car, so I anticipate a pass here.
Chris Smith looking for the points lead, winner of 2 races coming in. Here is the pass, and Dwayne May blows by into the lead. May 6th in points last year. He has no victories thus far this year, but he is really looking strong here today at Road Atlanta.
By the way Dwayne May caught Chris Smith and passed him, I would expect now that he's just going to put some distance on him.
And quickly he does open up about 2 car lengths. Second here a year ago at Road Atlanta. Dwayne May really has that vault working.
It looks beautiful. He's doing a great job of driving the car, and the car looks like it's well set up and really, really going good.
From Dallas, Texas, Dwayne May has taken over. 1 lead change since the beginning of the race. Christopher Smith had the pole and took the first few laps on point. But he has been passed by Dwayne May, and now Smith has a problem. He not only must be wondering what kind of a rocket May has out there in front of him, but he's also got to be wondering where Stuart Crow is. Still not looking good through turn 7. On the backstretch now, you see the top 4 cars in your screen, and Stuart Crow back there in 4th is definitely moving up.
Yeah, they're all strung out now, running in their own air, so you know, they're probably wondering, you know, how they're going to catch Dwayne May at this point.
They do not have drafting to enable 2 cars to move a little more quickly and catch the car ahead. Dwayne May increasing the lead steadily over the second place car of Chris Smith. Lee Perkinson is 3rd. 4th is Stuart Crow. Dwayne May is listed on the entry sheet as being from Dallas, Texas. He's actually from nearby Greenville, Texas. But he has definitely found a home here at Road Atlanta. After his best finish of the 1989 season, a 2nd place here, he's en route to a possible first victory. Let's get more on his situation from the pit lane.
Dwayne May was slow on the draw on the first lap, but quick to catch up, and now quick to put some distance between himself and the field. Dave Connie is owner and crew chief of the car. Did he find something after that first 2 laps, or what's going so well right now?
Well, he knew the Hagar car is performing well, and he just wanted to settle down, see what happens the first laps, and then I hope we just draw away now and make it look boring.
Well, if that's the goal, they're definitely accomplishing it. Look at the gap back to the 2nd place, the white machine there of Christopher Smith. Now here comes a battle for 3rd. Stuart Crow overhauling Lee Perkinson.
See, now he's moved into the draft, and he'll take advantage of that, probably going down this hill.
This is known as the dip at Road Atlanta. Crow takes a look to the outside, but then tucks back on to that narrow band of rubber that marks the racing groove. Now he looks to the inside, coming up to the bridge turn, and he'll take the position.
Nice pass, nice pass.
And so Stuart Crow is now up into 3rd spot on the number 3 car. He demotes Lee Perkinson to 4th. So your order is now Dwayne May, Chris Smith, Stuart Crow, and Lee Perkinson. And that could be an important pass for Crow in this ongoing points battle. He needs every position. Back up on point, Dwayne May beginning to lap the back-enders in this field. That's the number 6 of Robert Palanja, the local favorite from Marietta, Georgia.
See, now he'll get a little boost from this back marker. As he goes by him, he'll pick up the draft, so he caught this back marker in exactly the right spot.
There's another lap car, and look at the gap back to the white machine of the 2nd place, Christopher Smith. Dwayne May has absolutely got this field by the throat. Once more down into the dip. He has passed Palanja and up the hill. Down the hill they come. Let's check in with a rail bird here at Road Atlanta.
Dwayne May continues continuing to put a lap on the back markers after taking over the lead, and the third lap, his lead has grown from 5 to 7, and now let's check the interval. Here's Chris Smith. Dwayne May's lead at right at 11 seconds.
No question about it. Thank you, Phil. Dwayne May is absolutely running away from this field. He's on the short chute now, down into turn 6 and 7. We'll return to Road Atlanta in a moment.
The world's fastest and most exotic Mercedes-Benz comes on Goodyear Eagle radials, and only on Goodyear Eagle radials. Why? Because the engineers at Mercedes-Benz want it that way. And they're another reason why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
The Nissan I want is the, was in those commercials. They drove it to South America, the Pathfinder. We'd load up the Pathfinder and, whoops, better get a 4-door, and go skiing every weekend. The Paris-Dakar Rally. We could be the first family to race from Paris to Africa. Quit our jobs, pull the kids out of school. Maybe not.
Ayrton Senna has regained the point-standing lead from arch-rival Alain Prost. Prost will stop at nothing to get it back. The battle resumes at the Grand Prix of Hungary, Sunday morning at 7:50 Eastern, live on ESPN.
Back at Road Atlanta, where the Bosch Volkswagen Super V Series is the second round of our doubleheader here on ESPN. Good look at the suspension at work there on the Ralt RT5 of our race leader, Dwayne May, out of Greenville, Texas.
Right now, it's real tough for the second-place car because Dwayne May has worked out such a large lead that he can't even see him, so he has no target to shoot at.
That would be Christopher Smith in the second-place car. Here's the battle for 7th place. The white machine is Byron Payne from Louisville, Kentucky. He's being chased by Charles NEARBURG, who we saw go off the track and over the curbs a little bit earlier. He obviously kept the fire in that machine and is trying to work his way back up through the field. Here's NEARBURG coming up from behind as they approach the bridge turn 11. Sharply downhill now, and then into turn 12, a very fast right-hander.
These cars go through that turn absolutely flat. They don't even crack the throttle, nothing. They go just run through the corner. And also, I think turn 1 is pretty much flat.
And that is where NEARBURG right there went off early in the race. No problem with it this time. Well, he did lose a little ground heading off into that uphill turn number 1.
Hey, if you'd slid off that corner early in the race and gone out and mowed some grass, you'd probably be a little careful through there, too.
You're darn right I would. I've driven that corner. The ups and downs here at Road Atlanta are very deceiving. These are very steep hills going up right now through turn 5 and over this rise. Now downhill on the short chute to turn 6 and 7.
I think the elevation difference here is about 110 feet.
And that is a lot when you're sitting as close to the ground as these guys are. Here's the 6th place car of Chris Schneider. Let's take a few corners with him, Jack.
This is a good shot of going through the S's into turn 5. You go uphill. It's kind of a fast left-hander over a little rise and down into turn 6. This is a nice shot here.
You note the tachometer in the middle of the dashboard. He only loses about 300 or 400 revs between shifts. Very close ratios in these gearboxes. Very tight turn 7 here and on to the backstretch.
You'll notice the bumps in that turn. Makes that turn very difficult, but it's also the most important turn on the track because it leads to the longest straightaway.
And that's where our race leader is right now, the blue number 11 of Dwayne May, who has things totally under control here, reaching 160 miles an hour and then inching up even faster as he makes this sweeping right-hander and goes down into the dip.
Dwayne May has this race under control right now. He probably is driving that car as careful as he can, but he probably can hear every sound and vibration, and all he wants to see is a checkered flag because he wants this race to be over so he can win it.
There is the gap past 2 lapped cars to the 2nd place machine of Christopher Smith. That's how much Dwayne May is in control. Smith downhill, and he has only got a couple of laps left now. If he is going to do anything with Dwayne May, it has got to happen right now. Into turn 1 he goes in a beautiful white Ralt. Christopher Smith from Palos Verdes, California.
If things keep going for Dwayne May the way they are, there's no hope of Chris Smith to catch him at this point, and I'm sure he's aware of that.
This could be the end of the victory streak for Chris Smith, who came in having won the 2 previous races on the Super V Series. Once more onto the backstretch is your leader, the blue number 11. The driver up ahead in the 0 car, that's Mike McHugh from Belmont, California, telling the race leader which side to take him on.
But, you know, even with a lead like this, Dwayne May knows, and it's happened to him before, that, you know, it's not over till it's over. So anything can happen to him, and he hasn't won this race yet, even though it looks like he's going to win it.
Down out of the bridge turn, number 11 through turn number 12, flying along. Dwayne May totally in control here. Mike McHugh, by the way, is driving an Anson, one of only 2 cars in this field that is not made by Ralt. The other, the Griffith, being driven by Mark Diefer from Streetsboro, Ohio.
Dwayne May looks like he has a beautiful setup today. His car has looked well and handled well all day, which enabled him to run as fast as he's run.
Slower cars making way for the race leader, as back markers should, but don't always. And it could get exciting, particularly in open wheel. Now, wait a minute, he's slowing down.
Oh.
Dwayne May has a problem.
Oh, can you believe it?
With 2 laps to go, pounding the steering wheel, Dwayne May is seeing the victory slip away.
Talk about going from 0 to 0. Man, this is one of the worst feelings a driver can feel. It's happened to me. I know what he feels like, and it's just total frustration and terrible disappointment.
And there goes Christopher Smith into the lead.
On the other hand, Chris Smith came by and probably couldn't believe when he saw that blue car, knowing that he was going to get to take the victory here.
Oh, with just 2 laps to go, he is as far from the pits as he could possibly be. No hope of coasting it back around. What a heartbreak for Dwayne May, out of the race after leading it from lap number 2. And here is our new leader. Well, I'll bet he can barely keep his hands on the steering wheel in his surprise. Christopher Smith now has a very realistic shot at his 3rd straight victory and the points lead in the 20th season for the Bosch Volkswagen Super V Series.
You know, it just goes to show you, it's never over till it's over. And you have to always try and never give up, because anything can happen, and it showed today. And something could happen to Chris Smith. He might not win this.
That's true. Running in 2nd position right now is Stuart Crow, his points rival, followed by Lee Perkinson. So Chris Smith really has to keep it on the racing brew, because if anything happens to him, his chance of overtaking Crow for the points championship could go up in a puff of smoke.
Right now, Chris Smith knows that he's got this race won if he can just get it to the finish line, and I'm sure he's probably slowed down a little bit, and he's just being very, very cautious. And
can't blame Dwayne May for putting his face in his hands as the leader comes by. That could have been him. Just 2 laps for the finish, and Dwayne May is out. Christopher Smith has a sudden victory presented to him. He'll have 1 lap to go next time by. Down into the dip, fastest part of the racetrack, and Jack, I think he's going noticeably slower than he was earlier.
Well, I think that would be the right thing to do. He's got a couple of laps to go. He knows that he can win this race. He's not really racing anybody right now. His job is to bring this car home across the line, put it in victory circle, and chalk up a win for himself.
1 to go, 1 more lap, and Christopher Smith from Palos Verdes, California, will pick up his 3rd straight Bosch Volkswagen Super V victory. He won on the airport runways of Cleveland. As you look at Dave Conti there, Dwayne May's car owner and crew chief, expressing his frustration.
He's saying, I don't know what broke.
Smith also won on the street circuit at Des Moines, Iowa, and now he will pick up a victory, it would appear, on a permanent road circuit at Road Atlanta. So he has really proven that he can win on every type of racing circuit. Down into turn 6 and 7 at the far end of Road Atlanta. This is where Dwayne May's dream came apart. Chris Smith keeping it all together one last time onto the long backstretch.
Talk about a driver hearing everything and feeling everything. I'm sure that he's just praying that everything's going to go okay, and he's going to go he's got to go about another 3/4 of a mile. And
giving wide berth to a slower car, Christopher Smith comes down the hill. He has slowed up noticeably. He would have blown right by that car earlier in the race. And he has to do that because the second place car of Stuart Crow is not far behind. Here comes your leader down the hill. The checkered flag awaits. Third straight Bosch Volkswagen Super V victory for Christopher Smith. And here comes the second place car. Here is Stuart Crow. He's got his foot in it, giving it all it's worth. But he will finish second on the day with 20 points for the victory, 2 points for the pole, and 1 point for leading a lap. Christopher Smith will take Stuart Crow's lead in points. Of course, the point for leading most laps will go to the unfortunate Dwayne May. We'll be back in just a moment.
Recently, Four Wheel and Off-Road magazine took this year's 4x4 of the Year winner and all the past winners and conducted a head-to-head showdown to determine the best of the best. So who won? Who knows? There are a lot of 4x4s out there, but there's only one Jeep.
Now get 0% financing or $1,000 cash back on new Jeep Cherokees.
Boating in a car. Boating in a truck. Shortcut in a car. Shortcut in a truck. Finally, there's an oil that knows the difference. Truck Guard from Shell.
SCCA Pro Racing, taking you on the ultimate road trip.
Yonder comes some outdoorsmen.
Oh, look at this. You know they'd have a banjo. How far to the river?
You won't make it on them tires.
Don't worry.
We won't! Sooner or later,
your lone general.
Back at Road Atlanta, here are the final results of today's Bosch Volkswagen Super V race. A sudden victory for Christopher Smith, a good finish in 6th for Charles NEARBURG after spinning off the track early in the race, and coming home in 14th and final position, Dwayne May. Let's go to Victory Lane and Phil Van Horn.
Chris, you take your third straight win, take over the points championship. Very, elated right now, obviously, after being nowhere close to the lead.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. The car was good in qualifying. I don't know what happened. Dwayne had some speed on me. Once he went by, I decided to play it cool and hopefully still have the points lead after the race. And I'm sorry for Dwayne. He did a great job. He dropped out, but that's racing. We've all had days like that, and his time's going to come too.
At last check, he was 17 seconds out in front. When was the last time you saw him?
Oh, I'd say probably about 4 or 5 laps before he dropped out was the last thing I saw him. He was going today.
And when you saw him dead on the track blowing by?
Yeah. Just, again, I wanted to take it easy. Early in the race, I made a lot of mistakes. I decided, second place was better than no place, so it worked out today.
Worked out indeed. As Phil mentioned, Chris Smith takes over the Super B points lead, but the tragic hero of the day was Dwayne May. Once again, here's Phil Van Horn.
Dwayne May is a portrait of frustration. Dwayne, you were 17 seconds out in front. What happened?
Oh, the car was excellent. We either lost a diff or a half shaft on the car. I had no gears at all.
Does the thought cross your mind right now you may have been pushing it just to a little bit too much for that type of lead with 2 laps left?
I really don't think so. I was only running the engine, about, 95%, and I was just cruising. I really don't know what happened. It's just one of those days.
Well, there's Dwayne May, and after a great drive, his day ends with a mechanical problem which kept him from victory circle. At least he was able to get a ride back to the pits with his friend Stuart Crow.
And Stuart Crow would have you believe Dwayne May is number 1. He was certainly number 1 here today at Road Atlanta. A great drive comes to an untimely end. But it's been a day of great drives. Peter Cunningham fighting to hold his lead in the SCCA Race Truck Series. but his yellow Mazda could not withstand the assault of the Nissan teammates. Scott Gaylord and defending series champion Ray Kong, who bumped and drafted their way past before Gaylord finally took the victory, and with it a 1-point lead in the series over Cunningham. In the Super V race, it was all Dwayne May who took the lead on the second lap and opened a 17-second lead en route to certain victory before disaster struck with 2 laps to go. Something broke at the back of the car, and May was forced to park and sit watching as Christopher Smith swept past to take his 3rd straight Bosch Volkswagen Super V race win, and with it, a 3-point lead over Stuart Crow in the 20th season for the Super V Series. We hope you've enjoyed the day. I'm Bob Varsha for Jack Baldwin and Phil Van Horn. Thanks for being with us. So long from Road Atlanta.